Union Savings Bank and Guardian Savings Bank are full-service banks that are both privately held. Union Savings Bank was founded in 1904 and Guardian Savings Bank founded in 1892. Both banks have full-service branches in the Cincinnati area. Guardian, approximately 9 full-service banks, and Union Savings Bank, approximately 12. So the banks have a decades-long history of commitment to serving the diverse communities within its lending area. The Home Improvement Loan Program was prompted with the objective of enhancing the bank's fair lending practices in communities where there are majority African American census tracts. We know that access to financial tools and education are critical to maintaining stable and thriving communities.
Hello, everyone. Hello. Well, my job this evening is to kind of go over everything in that packet. We're going to talk about contractors, we're going to talk about credit, we're going to talk about budgeting, we're going to talk about a lot of stuff, okay? Because a lot of these things that you're going to hear from me tonight are still fundamental things that you still need to know. If you don't know, or even if you do know, this can just improve your knowledge. I always say knowledge is key. Can't get enough of it, okay? Mm-hmm. All right, so without that, we're going to go over my outline here. I was employed by the Homeownership Center for 13 years. And part of our education there was to not only work with homeowners who are looking to purchase, but also to help those who've already purchased maintain their homes. The first thing I want to ask, how many of you in here have a citation from building inspections? Anybody? Great, that's good. I'm glad that that didn't happen because there could be ramifications for you not getting it done in a timely manner as far as the county and the city is concerned. So that's good. But I do want to tell you though, in case you don't know, the city has a building and inspections department, okay? And from time to time, they pick random neighborhoods or areas to concentrate on, okay? When they do that, they're going to be looking at everybody's property. I remember when they did where I live in Pleasant Ridge, and they did do our neighborhood as well. So any of the 52 neighborhoods in the city is where they could concentrate, any of those, okay? So if that should happen and you get a citation for something, broken window, retaining wall falling, or, you know, peeling paint or whatever, you're going to need to address that. And that's why this program, I think, is so great that they're giving you the opportunity now to take these monies and fix your home up, okay? Make some major or maybe minor improvements. So the next thing I want to talk to you about is what kind of improvements are you planning? Can you see a show of hands of what are you thinking about doing? Yes, ma'am.
I'm thinking about my boiler. Because I need to get that done.
Okay.
So that was one of my major
That's great.
problems.
That's
windows.
Good. Boiler, windows, that's great. What about you?
New furnace.
New furnace, windows. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Plumbing.
Plumbing, good.
Driveway and cracks in basement.
Okay. Electrical. These are all good things. I mean, I'm glad to hear that you've got some substantial things that you want to fix or correct, right? Mm-hmm. Great. That helps, because the one thing I don't want you to do with this program, because it's, like I said, it's for home improvement. We don't want you going and buy a big screen TV like that. It's not for that. But any improvements that you're going to do your home, great, okay? Taxes and a homeowner's insurance are important to maintain those, because especially for homeowners who own their property outright. If you own it outright and you don't have a mortgage payment, generally if you have a mortgage payment, you're paying your taxes and insurance with that payment. But if you own the property outright, then you're solely responsible for making sure that the taxes get paid and the homeowner's insurance get paid. And that might be a daunting task now that you have to do it on your own, as opposed to having it encompassed in your total payment. How many of you own your property outright? Do you have Okay, so we got quite a few people here who are paying their own taxes and their own homeowners insurance, correct?
Yes.
Okay, okay. If you're one of those folks, let me talk to you guys first. You need to be very cognizant of how you're paying that and making sure that you are keeping your taxes up and that homeowner's insurance up, okay? Because one thing can happen, the county can come and get you, okay? Especially if the taxes are delinquent. They can impose fines, they can even sometimes force foreclosure because the county's gonna get his money, all right? Okay? All right, and with your homeowner's insurance, you wanna keep that current too, because you don't want the bank putting insurance on there for you. Because if you do, it's gonna be at a much, much higher premium than you can find, you know, on your own. So, really important to make sure those taxes or insurance are up to date. Now, you folks who are still making mortgage payments, like I am, it's included in most cases with your total payment, correct? Okay, so the only time that you could possibly be late is if you're not making your payment, right? Right, good. So, we want to stress the importance of keeping those two things current, taxes and insurance, all right? Credit score and history are very important for a bank. A lot of the programs that banks offer nowadays are credit score driven. So they're looking for a minimum score to work with. If you look in your packet, there's a pie-shaped thing that talks about credit. Like I said, a bank is going to look at your credit regardless to whatever loan product you're looking at, whether it be home improvement loans or refinancing an existing property that you might have, or if you want to upgrade and buy a new property. Credit is going to be key, okay? So this kind of gives you an outlook of how your credit score is determined. Let's just kind of review some highlights. I'm not going to go over each one because you can take this home and read it later, but I want to go over some highlights. Your payment history, okay? That just means that they're going to look at how much credit you have, okay? And how well you pay your credit, okay? It represents 35% of that score, okay? Your debt load, how much debt? That's gonna represent about 30% of that score, okay? Second page talks about the length of credit history. The one thing that you don't wanna do if you've had long time history with a credit company, say, you don't wanna close it, even if you're not gonna use that account. Just leave it there, pay it off if you want to, that's fine, but don't close the account because you want to keep that history, that longevity in there. Accounts for, like it says, 15% of your overall credit score. Then, new credit, okay? You don't want to do a whole lot of that. You don't want to do a whole lot of that at one time anyhow, okay? So, if you're looking to, say, go to Walmart, and open up a credit card with Walmart. Be careful about doing that. I'll tell you, most people don't need but one or two credit cards. You don't need them for those department stores, you know, where they say if you open an account now, we're going to save you 5 or 10% on your purchase. By the time you spend that little part and make that savings, you'll be using that card over and over, and you're not going to get that savings again. So it's best not to do it. And another key thing to remember too when you're charging things is try not to charge any more than you can pay off the next month. You know? I mean, now there will be circumstances or times when that's not possible, okay? But if that's the case, try only have one card. Don't have several of them out there where you've got balances that you can't pay off the next month, okay? And last but not least, number 5, it says types of credit. They're looking for a variety. They want you to have maybe credit cards, car loans, mortgage, stuff like that, so that they can see the variety in what you are doing, okay? And the last 5 steps down here, we're going to talk about these in depth. Those are really key, okay? This is what's going to help you with that credit score to maintain it. Or if it's lower right now, it can help increase it. Now, I can't say if you go out and pay all your bills on time right now, it's going to increase tomorrow. It's not. The credit bureau doesn't move that quickly. But at least it's a start, because you got to start somewhere, Okay? All right, so the first one, it says, pay accounts in full. What we're saying here is to pay all your monthly bills on or before the due date. How many people in here pay their bills after the due date? I don't want to see any hands. Okay, okay. Well, let me tell you what you're doing. You're paying interest that you shouldn't be paying. Now, I'm going to give you one example. I have a son, well, I have two sons, but I have one who listened and one who didn't, okay? He told me on his credit card, Mom, I can make that minimum payment every month. I said, but why would you want to do that? I said, because you're not only making that payment to pay off what you bought, you're giving them a whole bunch of interest that they didn't earn, but you're giving it to them, okay? That's how credit card companies stay in business. So don't do that if you can at all avoid it, okay? And then it says, number 2, when possible, make more than your minimum payment. Definitely do that. If you've got something where you're carrying that balance from month to month, try to make a little bit more than that minimum, because that minimum could drag that payment out for years. You don't want that, because you're giving that bank a lot more of your money than is necessary. Avoid opening too much credit. We just talked about that a minute. Don't do a whole lot of it because it's not necessary, okay? You need one good credit card, maybe 2, and that should be enough. Avoid maxing out your credit. Okay. That means don't use the entire credit limit that you have. If you got a $5,000 credit limit, you don't want to use it up to $49,900. You don't want to do that, okay? Because then the bank is going to look at that, well, they don't have enough money and they've got to live off these credit cards. So 30% is what we say is common, to use no more than 30% of whatever that balance is, all right? The next one, it says, you should check your credit report annually. How many do that? Good. Because there could be errors on there. Could be things, especially if there's juniors and seniors. I have that in my family. Juniors and seniors, sometimes their credit gets mingled. You know, credit bureau will look at 2 or 3 components. If 2 or 3 of them match your name, your address, they don't care about the rest. They're going to stick it on that credit report. So you need to monitor it to make sure that it's you, first of all, that they're talking about, and that is some credit that you open, okay? Consolidate student loans. I can't tell you enough how student loans have prevented a lot of folks from doing what they need to do. Student loans are there because you need them to go to school and you can't pay the big amount off at once, right? But the one thing you could do to help yourself is to get those loans consolidated. Because a lot of times when you get those consolidated, that monthly payment is going to be a lot lower than what it would be individually. And I'll tell you something else. When a banker is looking at your student loan debt, they're going to look at a minimum of 1% of the balance, whatever that balance is. So if it's a $50,000 balance, you got a $50 payment as far as that bank is concerned. The student loan people might say they only want 20 or 25, but we're going to count 50 if that's the case. So consolidating a lot of debt, student loan debt, could help you, okay? The last one, number 7, is if you're ever in trouble with making the payments, or if you're ever having any issues at all with a creditor, make sure you call a HUD-approved counseling agency. The Homeownership Center is a good one to call, okay? If you don't know them, look them up in the phone book. They're on Vernon Place, but they're a good one to call to help you get yourself back on the right track if you have some issues, okay? A good working budget is the key to good credit and paying debt on time, because it gives you a plan. It gives you a working plan. You can see each month what bills are owed and when they're due. And what you want to do is make sure that you follow that. How many of you have an actual written working budget? How many of you have your budgets up here? Okay. Well, let me tell you about these up here. They don't work well. They don't work well at all, okay? Because you're soon to forget. The thing is, you need to have a written working budget that you can look at every time you get paid, because usually when you get paid is when you're going to pay your bills, whether you're doing it weekly, monthly, or semi-weekly, whatever. okay? You need to know how much money's coming in, and you need to know how much is going out, okay? That way you can stay on top of who needs to be paid when, okay? And that's the biggest thing. You want to pay these folks on time. I can say it over and over. A credit grantor has no problem with you paying your bill before it's due. They don't, okay? So just keep that in mind. The thing is, you don't want to go past that due date. One thing on this budget that I want you to pay particular attention to, because it's just a normal budget, but they're right in the first or the second column there where it says all monthly expenses, you'll see some says special savings account. That's key to you guys for now. What that is, you need to be putting away a little bit of money in an account that you're not going to use for as long as you have that house. Because there are certain things that are going to go wrong that you can fix that you don't have to call a contractor. But if you don't have the money, then you got to go get a loan. Or you got to borrow it from your family members or whatever, okay? When I got ready to buy my house, my mom and I set up an account for me that I couldn't use, but I was putting money in for my house, okay? So that's what you guys need to do. And then when something comes up, you'll have it. First thing that came up with me, my air conditioner went out. When I had the inspection, the guy told me it was going to be good for about 4 years. It lasted more than that. It lasted 7. But it did eventually go out. But luckily for me, because I had that account, I had the money. I didn't have to go borrow it. My mom wasn't going to give it to me anyway, but I didn't have to borrow it. So that's what you want to do. You want to be self-sufficient as much as possible. This budget that I just handed out, I can give to anybody in electronic form if they want it. All you have to do is call me, and I can do that. And then you can switch it to make sure it meets your needs, because there might be some debts or things in here that we mentioned that you don't need, or things that you have that are not mentioned on that budget. So keep that in mind if you want. It's really important to be selective and thorough when you're looking for a contractor, because you want to make sure that you interview more than just one, first of all. You want to make sure that you're comfortable with the information he's providing for you and your understanding of that information. You're going to ask a lot of questions so that you can make an informed decision of who you want to do the work for you.